This is Between the Lines podcast, where we discuss everything contemporary Christian fiction. Hang out with me, Jennifer Sienes, as authors share their writing journeys, the inspiration for their novels, and give y'all a behind-the-scenes view of a writer's life. Believe it or not, it's not as easy as you might think. Hi, we are here today with author and friend Heidi McGill, and I am thrilled to have her on here. Hi, Heidi. How are you doing?
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm excited to be here, and I am doing well. And I so appreciate you having me back again.
So if you guys are thinking, I thought we heard an interview with Heidi before, you would be right. This is Heidi's second time, and we're discussing a different book this time, and whatever else comes to mind, right?
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, so we were talking right before the recording about this being, is this your first contemporary book?
It is not my first contemporary. I have the You Are on the Air series, two of those books, the Dial E for Endearment with the blind main character and Dial P for Perfect with the curvy girl character.
That's right.
So those are my first contemporaries. This new novel, A Deeper Love, is in the Swomali Island series, and it has a scuba diver theme, and it is super fun.
I noticed that when I was reading it, and I also noticed that you, how do you put this? My mind is not working. I'm sorry. This is not my sharpest time. I've been up since 3 this morning. So we're looking on hour 13 here as we're recording this. You dedicated it to your husband, correct? Yes. Is he a diver?
He is we'll call him an extreme diver.
Really?
So my husband truly enjoys not just the excitement of diving, but the technicalities of diving. So he is a dive instructor. So he teaches dive professionals how to teach other divers. He loves that technical side. He loves anything that's a challenge. He went on a dive vacation and came back and told me he was so excited. He had to actually take his gear off in the water to get through a hole, get his gear back through, put his gear back on before he could continue. And I'm thinking that does not sound like fun to me, but to him, it is an adventure. And one of the things that he says so often is definitely make a plan and then dive your plan. And I think that is apropos to just about anything in life.
Absolutely.
Figure out what you need to do. Figure it out what God needs you to do, and then do the plan. Follow the plan.
Well, I tell you, what a blessing for you to be able to have that. I mean, we're always looking for something unique in our stories, something that we can bring life to, an event or a hobby or a career that our readers may not know much about. What a perfect way to do that with your husband being your technical person right there. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And it was kind of fun and a challenge for me in that I had to take what I would visually see under the water and put that into words. And that alone was challenging. And it may have been one of the things that made writing this book unique of all the other books that I've written. There is such a visual component.
Do you dive as well?
I do. I'm definitely not technical. I prefer clear waters and cute little fish.
I understand that. I've snorkeled. That's as close as I've gotten, but my husband has dived in the past. He hasn't done so in quite a while, but there's something, I don't know, like Little Mermaid-ish about going underwater and seeing a life. I mean, I know just from the very limited amount I've seen snorkeling, there's a whole world under there.
Absolutely. And you don't realize when you are down deep, the sounds that you can hear are just fabulous. And if you pay close attention, you will see a crab and he'll click his claws and you can hear that noise under the water. It's just fascinating.
Wow, that is fascinating. I just think it's really, I started reading and I haven't finished it, but I have been reading it. And it is just all the technical parts of having to dive and what's required of it. And it's, to me, kind of scary because I'm not a swimmer. Like I can dog paddle, I can swim, but I have never, when I was little, my mom and dad got me swim lessons, and there were 5 of us kids in our family. So we all took swim lessons. But that summer, I got so much water in my ears. I had swimmer's ear with earaches. And ever since then, whenever I hear that swish of water in my ear, it kind of freaks me out and I can't do it.
Yes, I totally know what that is.
I'm a pansy when it comes to water for sure. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about A Deeper Love.
Deeper Love is a really cute story, has some humor and some adventure of a young lady, Alicia, who is known as Algie, Alicia Gary, so it's her initials. She is wanting to fulfill her father's dream of opening a dive shop on the Swomali Islands. Now, she is in the one island in the archipelago that is called Isle of Tiga, and it has the least amount of tourism, and it is very, very small and not as much inhabited by the tourists. So the island itself, I was able to choose which island I wanted, and no other author in this series, in the Swomali Island series, had chosen this island. So kind of got to develop it myself. And
Cool.
I based the island off of the island of Dominica. It is in the Lesser Antilles. It is where my mom and my dad were volunteer missionaries to the
Mm,
Carib Indians in that island, and it was very remote. And so that's what I decided to make the Isle of Tiga. It was a little more remote than the other islands. So Alicia has this scuba diving business, and Daniel comes and he needs a vacation. And she's used to having those wealthy businessmen come.
right.
It's a great hobby. It's a great 1 week vacation. It is active, it gets you outdoors, and it is a lot of fun and has tremendous adventure to it. And so these guys come, and Daniel comes, and he's just ready to get away. And in the process, they learn that they have some similarities, but they have more differences than they do things in common. And they work through those things all the way through the process. And I throw in a couple Little Mermaid quotes and some
Mhm.
songs, and it kind of takes us through the story. But it is a fun story of God's redemptive love.
Right. So for those people who don't know what the Somali Island series is, because this is a Celebrate Lit series. They do several series. They've had the Ever Afters. They've had the what are a couple others? I think
Independence Island.
that's right, Independence
Mhm.
Island series, and they do these series. And so explain maybe what that is and how that works.
Sure. Oh my goodness. I have been so blessed to be a part of this. These authors that are coming together, there are 9 of us, and we work together to build a world where you can physically go in your mind. It's a wonderful experience. So the Swomali Islands are several islands in the South Pacific, and each island has its own uniqueness. We have one person who has a photography company, another person that owns a wedding studio and planning. We have I believe, a doctor's office. We have all of these things that these stories are wrapped around, and each author writes standalone novels that deal with being on these tropical islands. And so my person, Alicia, is the scuba diving owner. It's a lot of fun to be a part of a group when you are writing in a multi-author project.
Right.
The beautiful pluses of that are you have connection with other authors. It is a tremendous blessing. Shatona Havoc, Melissa Wardell, Amanda True. There are some amazing authors who I would possibly never have had a connection with if it had not been for this series. The other beauty is each of us are contributing a portion of our knowledge of what we've learned and researched. One person came up with what language they would speak, and that it was a French country, and developed what the basis was of our island. Another person came up with some of the historical things that they might have done for traditions. And so you take that information and you work it into your book so that all the books flow, but you can read them independently in any order in order for those books to make sense. Now, my 3 books, this is a 3-year project, and so my book's released every October 31st. And this first book is Alicia and Dan. The next book will be Tug, who is Alicia's boat owner, and his new love that he's going to have, and that'll be a 55 plus novel. I'm excited about that one. And then the third book in my series, which will release in 2025, will deal with the young man that they meet in the beginning of the first book, Jeremy.
Awesome. Yeah, it's pretty interesting the way all that works. And because I kind of came in at somebody else started book one and then had to leave. And so I had to pick up where she left off and pick up her characters and everything. And that was a challenge.
I can imagine.
You're not taking your own story. You're trying to take somebody else's story and create something from those characters that you don't even know yet. So it's been a challenge for me, but yeah, I didn't have what you guys had though at the very beginning. I wasn't part of that whole creativity thing, but it is amazing. There's a map, there are maps, there are, I had to go on and study these islands to figure out where you want to be, and it's pretty interesting.
Yes.
Very creative.
Very
creative. So these books, these three books, you have other books as well though, right? What else are you working on, or what's coming up for you?
Well, I know that you have a Christmas book that's going to be coming out, and that is probably going to be my very next attempt. Is I don't have a story of Christmas, and I'd really love to have one. So what is it that you're doing? What's your Christmas book?
Every series that I have has Christmas novellas and a summer novella. Well, the Swallow Island is taking place for my summer, but Christmas novellas. So I have a Christmas novella every year.
Oh, fun.
So what I generally do in the Christmas novella is try to take characters from one of my other books, a side character, and bring a story in for them. And it hasn't always turned out. So my Christmas novella, I'm losing track of my books, and that's bad. So Tangles and Tinsel is the name of the Christmas novella. And it comes off of Shadow Dancing, which was my second novel.
Yes.
So I don't know if you know Shadow Dancing, but there was a side character in Shadow Dancing named Kimberly St. John. And Kimberly is kind of a not very nice person in the beginning, and then you get to know her story. And she's a side character, and then it's her story that comes into the Christmas novella. So that's been fun to go back and create her backstory.
Yes.
A little bit more than what you come up with. Some backstory like, oh yeah, my mom abandoned our family when my dad was a drunk, and you have that back, but you don't have to develop it much because it's just a little bit aside. Then you go back and actually say, okay, these are the things that she dealt with. Now, how can you bring it into a brand new story and give her a love it? Because they're always romance. On Christmas, the novellas are always romance. I mean, they're all romance. I love romance. No matter what I write, I want romance to be part of it. But sometimes they're married couples that have to reconnect or find their way back to each other or that kind of thing. So so that's what that one is.
Now, for my historical series, Discerning God's Best, I did it by season. So spring, summer, winter, and then fall, and now I have my winter book that is getting ready to come out in hopefully February. And I had considered doing a Christmas theme then, and then I thought, no, my readers asked for what is Delphina's story, and Delphina comes in both my prequel and in my first book. And she carries through into my second, and that's in that series. And people really want to know what's her story. So I believe that is going to be my Christmas novella. It'll be a little side story of Delphina and what she.
I read some of your books, and it's been a while, and I get the characters confused. And I don't want to give any spoilers because I read your one book and I found out something happened, and I was ready to call you up and say, I can't believe you did that. I was so upset. And then the rest of the story went along, and I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. That was really a good thing to do. But that wasn't Delphina in that story, I don't believe.
No. So in the prequel, which, by the way, that prequel is free when you sign up for my newsletter. It's called Deep in My Heart, and you can go to my website.
Oh, I read that one.
Yeah, and that is, you can go to my website, HeidiGrayMcGill.com, and sign up for my newsletter, and you can get that free prequel as an ebook. And it is the beginning of my Discerning God's Best series. And
I know I've read them. So I've got to go back and see which ones I've read to figure it out. I don't want to give a spoiler away because I read it, and then
No, yeah,
I were to
don't give
tell,
that
if I were to
away.
say what happened, this is what happened in this one. Is that what you're talking about? I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
but you don't want to do that.
we'll talk off podcast about that and figure that
Okay.
one out. So what do you do, Heidi, when you're not writing? I mean, I know you've got family and you've got all kinds of obligations. What are your favorite things to do when you're not writing?
Number one favorite thing to do is watch my grandchildren. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a
Jealous.
2-year-old and a 4-year-old grandsons. They are absolutely the joy of my life, Jennifer, and they are exhausting all the same. When I keep them, I am so done. I do not get any writing done on those days. I'm very tired, and it is totally worth it. So we
Yeah.
moved in April to a senior community, a 55 plus community. As you know, I am legally blind. I do
Right.
not drive. And what this has done for me is I can walk so many places. It has given me a freedom that I never anticipated having. I can get myself to the children's park, to the little pond where we can
Nice.
feed the geese. I can get myself to the library and the grocery store
Mhm.
and a chiropractor, a nail place, a hair salon, restaurants. It has just given me a tremendous freedom. So keeping my grandchildren has been fun because we go on lots of adventures.
Nice.
We enjoy picking up acorns and sticks and all kinds of things. Another thing that I enjoy doing is scrapbooking. So I have 5% of my vision left. That just so I have a central point with my glasses, I have 20/20 vision. It's a little cloudy and I have lost some color, but I'm just praising the Lord that I've got the sight that I have. And so I enjoy scrapbooking. I don't believe my children will enjoy having those books later in life. They may. Right now, they don't care. I'm doing it for me. I'm
Yeah.
cementing in my mind memories that have happened throughout my life. So that is something I truly enjoy. And I try to get away twice a year to scrapbook. I love to read. I will devour anything by Misty Beller. Laura France, who just I found out that she was a finalist in the Christie Awards.
Oh, nice.
Yes, very
Yes.
exciting. Sarah Sundin, Michelle Greep.
Oh, I love
Um,
Michelle Greep.
oh, those ladies just, to me, that's true Christian fiction. When you can share Christ without being preachy, that's a good book.
Yeah.
I don't want to just have my characters say a prayer and give God lip service.
Right.
When I feel like I'm in the presence of the Lord, when I read one of Misty Beller's books, I know that she is doing what God has called her to do, and I want to support that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for scrapbooking and reading and walking, and I mean, that's really great that you're able to get out and move around like you do. That
Yeah.
would be hard to be stuck,
Yes.
where you are, and or depending on somebody to drive you around.
Dependence. Yeah. Yeah.
So are you looking forward to the holidays coming up?
We were just discussing a Christmas tree today and where we might put it when it goes up.
How long
I,
have you been in this house?
April.
Okay.
Yeah, so not very long. The holidays this year will probably be a little bit different. My youngest daughter lives in Kentucky, and so she will not make it home. So we will see her in early November, and then we won't see her for Christmas or Thanksgiving. I mean, either one. And so she will get to spend time with her fiance's family up there in Kentucky. My other daughter, her husband has family local too, and so they always spending time together. But my mother-in-law has traditionally always hosted, and now I live in her home. So we purchased her house, and
Oh,
she went
wow.
to a 55 plus apartment community. So it looks like Christmas is going to be a little different this year. That Heidi might be hosting.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things change, family dynamics change, in our family, my mother-in-law always hosted Thanksgiving. It was just her thing. And my sister-in-law always hosted Christmas. And because we lived so far, we were the ones traveling, now everybody's we've moved to Tennessee and we have family that the kids have moved here. My sister-in-law has moved here. And so now we're swapping back and forth. Mom has passed away. So it changes, it gets passed down and you try different things. So, and we're building a new house, which maybe
I'm so excited for you.
I'm a little nervous. It's supposed to be done right around Christmas time, I think. We're not sure. So I'm hoping not. I just push it out a little farther because that's a bear of a time to try to do everything. So that will be a change too. It's like, okay, now where will we put the tree? We finally figured out where to put a tree and now you got to start all over. So, we all had all these difficult decisions to make and life is really pretty simple. Yeah. Well, so inspiration, where you have all these, remind everybody about your different series that you have and where they got inspired from, because you're a prolific writer.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. I don't feel like I am today. My very first series, and the reason that I started writing was I had been the founder and director of an English as a second language program. And in March of 2020, that program closed. It was next to impossible to meet together, even with masks on. You just can't do ESL. But it was difficult because of the spacing that we were going to need. We had 130 students, 36, 37 countries, and the facilities just could not handle the new spacing requirements that we would need. So we closed that program and I retired from ESL, but I knew I was not done. I had, beyond a shadow of a doubt, known that God had called me to start that program. And so when I felt like God was shutting that door, I could not imagine what it would be that he would open for me for the next chapter of my life. Now, I had been a beta reader for other authors and always enjoyed that. And a beta reader is a little different from an ARC reader or an early advanced reader. A beta reader needs to be willing to tell an author the truth. It's not just oh, I love this book. No, It needs to be someone who is willing to say the hard in love and point out details that they may have missed. And sometimes it's before the book goes to an editor, sometimes it's after. So I had been beta reading for some ladies and I read one and I thought, oh my goodness, seriously, why can't I do this? This can't be that hard. Well, Jennifer, as you well know, it is hard.
It's
hard. Really hard. It is really, really, really hard. And I put that book away. That was my first book, My Desire of My Heart. And I put that book away. And when my family went on vacation together, my sisters in love said, this book is great, but it is not ready for publication. It needs some work. So I spent my time the next several months figuring out how in the world I was going to make this readable for the public, and learned the craft of writing simply by devouring every reading book that I could get my hands on. For authors listening to this, Show Don't Tell is by far one of the best books that you could ever read in your entire life.
Who is that by? Who is that by?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Save the Cat. I remember Save the Cat. Yeah.
Save the Cat is another one. But there's just so many things that you can do to help you grow who you are as a writer. So I published that book and it did well. And I honestly, Jennifer, I was surprised. I did not think I had it in me. I did not do well in college in writing. But what was happening was God gave me a purpose. God gave me a platform, and I was simply obedient. Is that book perfect? Oh my goodness, no. And if you go back and read book number 1, I hope that you will see growth in my writing when I get to this book number 4 that I'm doing now. So that series then developed a Discerning God's Best series, and I wrote, I am now on my 4th book in that series, and then there is also the prequel that I mentioned earlier. That is where I'm going to put my focus. My readers really love my historicals. That seems to be where they find their most joy, and I get the most positive feedback of how God has touched someone's heart is through those books. So I wanted to challenge myself, and so I joined a multi-author project called You Are on the Air. And my book was to release in February. Well, February is Low Vision Awareness Month. And so I thought, well, this is cool. You got to write something you know. And it's my first time
Right.
writing anything contemporary. So I wrote about a young lady in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, which is my favorite place to vacation. And she is completely blind, uses a white cane, and she has my eye disease, retinitis pigmentosa. And it is her journey walking through life, determining who she is as an individual outside of that white cane.
Well,
She's a
how do you,
radio.
I just got to ask you, because
Sure.
I've thought about that. How do you, so much of what we write is visual, and you have a blind character who can't see. How do you get, how do you, I don't, how do you do that? I mean, how do you,
Okay. First of all, I got goosebumps because I got to tell you the coolest story. Okay, so I am considered legally blind, but only about 10% of the blind population sees nothing. They see
really?
no light at all. Most blind people can see a shape, a color, some distinguishing factor. They may use a white cane and have a dog, but documents say 10% see absolute blackness. And so
I had no
when
idea.
I did not know this either, Jennifer, this was new to me. So when I made my character completely blind, I had to be very, very careful and make certain that I did justice to what people truly experience. So my neighbors in my old neighborhood all got very concerned when I had a blindfold on and I was walking around my block with my blindfold and my white cane, and I got so turned around. It's fascinating to me how someone who is blind can maneuver in our world. And I try to help with my character of Everly to make that, to shed light on the subject of blindness. But what I was going to tell you about getting goosebumps is I am starting to put my books on audio. And I connected with a lady through Bar 26 Publishing and said, would you be willing to audio my book? And she said yes. And I didn't hear from her. And I got a little concerned. And she emailed me and she said, hey, I have had a huge family emergency. I have a friend who I would like to recommend to read and narrate Dial E for Endearment because she's blind.
Oh, wow.
I have a blind narrator
Wow.
narrating
How
my
does she
blind
do
book.
that?
Isn't that the coolest? Okay, so she is a Braille reader and she is reading my book with her finger on Braille. And then she is recording as she's reading. So every once in a while, you hear a little blip because she's got to move her finger to go back to the beginning of or find the new paragraph. It's super cool. I am so excited about this,
Wow.
Jennifer, because I feel like this book has opened my eyes to a whole new world. I will be there someday. I'm asking the Lord to grant me my vision to the end. But if He does not, I am surrounding myself by confident women who are God fearing and God honoring, and they are using their giftedness to
Wow.
promote the gospel. And I am so excited for these connections.
That is amazing. So when you write your books, then when you write this character, are you bringing in all the other senses other than, or
Yes, we're always supposed to do that in all of our books is
we
put all
are?
the sentences. I think that really is very, very difficult. So I did make a very extra concerted effort to make that happen. And a good example is in the very beginning. I think the first line is the devil made me brew it is my favorite blend of coffee. And so the word it's a Christian novel, and so when you hear that immediately it charges your senses. And then I talk about the coffee and the fact that I can smell the coffee and how the bottom of the mug is obviously hand thrown because it grates on the table. Little things that I would not normally put in a book, I really tried to add to get all the sensory feels.
And what did you use? First person, third person?
I did use first person in that book, and I thought it might be easier for contemporary for me so that I could really put myself in that character's
Yeah.
mind.
Well, plus when you're talking about the senses like that, I think it's more powerful when if that's all she's got.
Yes.
Other senses, I think it's more powerful.
Yes.
It sounds pretty exciting stuff. Had no idea. I'm just thrilled that we were able to chat about this, and
yes.
And I'm excited for you and all the things that you have going on. It's hard to believe you've written so much in so little time. I had no idea it'd only been since 2020 you started this journey. I mean, I've been writing since 2007, 2008. It's like, oh my gosh.
I would have to say that I think there is beauty in the fact that each of us are made so uniquely different. I currently am writing my fourth book in that historical series, and it's Healing of the Heart. It's Thomas's story. Thomas is the 5-year-old boy that you would meet in the very first book. And now he's in college and he's becoming a doctor, and this is his story. And it is taking me longer. I'm not sure if it's because I've learned more and I'm recognizing when I make an error and I have to self-correct. I can't decide if life is just a little crazier or what it might be, or if going back and forth from first person contemporary into third person historical. Some of that is playing in there, but I am not writing as quickly as I was. So one full novel and 2 novellas are my goal each year. Well, actually, it had been 2. A lot. Yeah. And this year I will complete 1 novella.
And what is the word length typically of your novels?
My novels are 85 to 87,000 words.
And your novellas?
That's a 400 plus page paperback. My novellas are closer to 30, 35, and that's a 150 to 200 page book. Yeah.
Depending on, like, I know my books are usually 90 and they're usually under 400. So I don't know if it depends on the size of the book or what. But
are you talking about your novels are 90,000?
Yeah, 90.
So much of it has to do with how you format it. And yeah.
And you do that. You do it because you're indie published a lot of your stuff, right?
Everything except the Swameli series is independently published. And the beauty of that is I can go back and tweak things on my own. The beauty of that is that I actually have to do it. So
no. Well, that would slow the process. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Well, Heidi, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you today. I'm so glad you came back on and agreed to do this. It's been, for those of you that listening, we just did a conference together in June, end of May, beginning of June. It was so nice to see you face to face. So it's been a pleasure, and I'm so grateful for you coming. And so when you get your next book, come on back again.
Thank you.
Okay.
I always appreciate this time with you, Jennifer, and it was a pleasure getting to meet you in person. It felt like we'd always known each other, and
I know, it was sweet.
Friendship. That is a beautiful thing when Christians are able to come together. We already have a baseline.
Absolutely, we do. So, well, I wish you the best. Your book coming out, A Deeper Love, coming out October 31st.
Correct.
And is it available for pre-order?
It is available for pre-order on Amazon for $2.99, and then that price will go up to $5.99. So readers will want to get that within either the pre-order time or within the first week that it is on Amazon. The ebook is available through Celebrate Lit, and Jennifer, I'll give you that link so that you can share it with your readers. But it is 30% off plus free shipping if you want to pre-order.
You're talking about the paperback. You said ebook, but paperback. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yes. The paperback is 30% off and free shipping. So you can do that directly through Celebrate Lit.
Yeah, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Very rarely does that happen.
So we'll get those links on the show notes so you guys will be able to pre-order those books if you'd like. And so I wish you the best on that. Thanks. I have one more thing. I would love for your readers to help me with something. Sure. So I mentioned about the Dial E for Endearment, Dial P for Perfect, and A Bride for Harley. Those are all coming up as audiobooks.
And Jennifer, I have decided to put those on a YouTube channel for free.
Oh,
And I'd
wow.
really love for my readers to be able to have that experience. I do now have a wonderful following of blind readers, and so giving them this new opportunity of hearing the book is really special to me. So if your readers would be, no, if your followers would be willing to also follow me on my YouTube channel, Heidi Gray McGill, I would so appreciate it. And if they'll push that red bell, that will notify them when that new free content goes up. Each time I load a book, then they'll get notified.
Okay, why don't you send me the link for that and we'll put that in the show notes as well, and we'll get people so they can go